In the old days, when the world was young and the fire was the only light, the land of Ashakar was a place of bones. Warlords fought for a swallow of water and a handful of sand, and their noise filled the air, but no one wrote their names. The desert was a hungry beast, but it had no voice until a storm of 7 days birthed a child. A woman named Mara found the babe atop a high, shifting dune that had appeared from nothing. He was wrapped in gray silk that felt like cobwebs. The mystery of the silk was this: it was not woven by human hands. It was the skin of the great silence, a cloth made from the dreams of people who died without anyone to remember them. The silk was the reason the child was cold. It was a garment of pure forgetting. It was a gift from the Unmaker, sent to ensure the child would grow up with a heart like a hollow cave. Mara, the woman who found him, tried to warm him with her own breath, but the silk sucked the heat from her lungs. She lived long enough to bring him to the village, but she never spoke again. Her voice had been traded to the silk just to keep the babe alive. This child was Horgus. As he grew, the village looked at him and saw a cold moon in the middle of a hot day. He was a boy of shadows. He did not laugh when the rain fell, and he did not cry when the thorns pricked his skin. He spent his hours talking to the wind and tracing patterns in the dust that no one else could see. The elders grew afraid. They whispered, "He has no heart of meat. He has a heart of stone." They believed he was a sand-eater sent to steal their luck. So they did not use spears to kill him. Instead, they used the Great Void. They called him a scout to honor him with words, but they were throwing him away. They gave him a dry water skin and a broken staff and pointed him toward the deep wastes. They sent him to the Great Void because they wanted the desert to bury the mystery of his birth so they could sleep without fear. But the desert did not kill Horgus. It welcomed him. One night, while he was chasing a star that bled black light, a sand-blind storm swallowed him whole. In the hollow heart of that dust, he met the Unmaker, a spirit that lives between the grains of sand. The Unmaker reached into Horgus and pulled out his soul, filling the empty space with a heavy truth. Voices are pain. Memory is a rotting wound. To forget is the only mercy. Horgus did not come back as a man. He came back as a walking grave. He became a warlord whose sword was silence. He did not just slaughter villages. He made it as if they had never existed. He would force fathers to watch as he burned their family scrolls. Then he would cut out the tongues of the survivors so they could never whisper the names of their children. Yet Horgus was haunted by the echoes of the lives he had stolen. He sought the shadowsmiths in the dark, sunless caves where the rock weeps oil. He dragged 3 prisoners to their black altar: a wise judge, a mother, and a scribe. Horgus killed them and demanded a crown made from their bones. He wanted to trap their wisdom, their love, and their memory within himself so that he would be the only one who knew anything, and the rest of the world would be silent forever. The shadowsmiths fused the judge's skull into the base, the mother's jaw into the front, and the scribe's long, thin fingers into the jagged peaks. They sealed the bone with a black, cursed sap that smelled of old blood and salt. But when Horgus placed the crown on his head, the mystery of the bone awoke. The crown did not give him power. It gave him the eyes of the slain. He saw every face he had erased and felt every scream he had silenced. The weight of 1,000,000 forgotten souls crushed his skull. He died standing up, his body turning to a pillar of salt, and his palace was swallowed by a hole of red sand. After Horgus fell, the land was quiet, but a new shadow grew. Zane, the captain of Horgus's guard, was a man of silver words. He was the traitor who had watched Horgus die with a smile. Zane dug through the salt and found the golden records Horgus had failed to burn. He changed the stories to make himself a hero and used stolen gold to buy the loyalty of other warlords. Over the grave of the old palace, he built the high white walls of Ashakar. He offered the people a comfortable lie instead of a cold truth, and they traded their memories for the safety of his city. 500 years passed and the sand shifted many times, and the empire of Ashakar rose from the rubble, shining like a fake sun. King Zareth was the last of that bloodline, and he was the most wicked. He was a man of masks who smiled at the poor while poisoning their wells. He was so greedy that he would steal the breath from a dying man if he could sell it for a coin. To guard his archives, he had Karo, the royal archivist. Karo was a shadow scribe, the grandson of the very man whose fingers were on the crown. His family carried a terrible curse born in the marrow of their bones. They were born with a ghost stake in their hands, a twitching in their fingers that could only be stilled by holding a pen. They were the eyes that see but cannot speak. Every time Karo wrote a lie for the king, a tiny piece of his soul was sucked into the bone crown. For 500 years, his family had been pulled back to the palace by the sand, cursed to be the hands of the kings who had murdered their father. On the night of the red moon, the air became thick like mud. Zareth went into the forbidden deep, his heart full of pride. He found the bone crown pulsing with a gray, sick light. He thought he was a god who could master the ghosts. But as the crown touched his head, the palace began to scream. This was the moment the judge's spirit began to shake the scales. Fine red sand, the blood of the desert, began to leak from the walls, pouring from the eyes of statues and the mouths of servants. A ghost woman appeared in the swirling dust, her face a scary hole where her jaw had been ripped away. She was the mother, and she did not walk. She floated like a cloth. She gripped Karo by the neck with fingers of cold mist and dragged him through the hallways. As Karo was pulled, the floor beneath him turned into a sea of paper. Every lie he had ever written rose up as an ink-black bug with a human face. They swarmed over him, biting into his skin, and their bites tasted like the truth. The ghost woman threw Karo into the throne room. Their King Zareth was a nightmare to see. His skin had turned to thin paper, and as he tried to speak, his own secrets tore his throat apart. Sand poured from his mouth in a dry, endless flood until he was nothing but a hollow suit of silk. The bone crown floated in the air, its bone fingers reaching out. Karo, his hands now stained a deep, coal black by the ink of his own lies, understood the truth. The crown was a hungry mouth that had been waiting 500 years for a scribe who was brave enough to tell the truth. Karo did not run. He reached out and grabbed the sharp bone. As he placed it on his head, the world turned upside down. First, he was pulled into a place of perfect, cold light by the spirit of the judge. For 500 years, the judge's spirit had been the silent weight in the crown. He showed Karo a great scale made of starlight. On one side was every lie Karo had written. On the other was the suffering of the people. The scale tipped toward the dark, and Karo felt his heart turning to stone. But the judge spoke with a voice like grinding rocks. The law is bone, but truth is the marrow. To pay the debt, you must guard the truth forever. Karo did not die. He took the pain of 5 centuries into his soul and became the keeper. The judge's spirit became his inner eye, deciding which liars would fall and which would repent. Karo's own eyes vanished, replaced by 2 whirlpools of white starlight that burned with the fire of 1,000 truths. He did not become a king. He became the keeper of the ledger. He sat on the throne and spoke a single word of truth, and every liar in the city fell dead where they stood. For 100 years, Karo sat in the archives. He wrote the book of everything, recording every crime and every good deed in ink made of fire. He wrote of the kings who stole, the warriors who murdered, and the small acts of kindness that the world had forgotten. But there was one secret Karo refused to write. He would not write the name of Mara, the woman who found Horgus in the silk. He knew that if her name was written in the book of the crown, the Unmaker would find her soul and eat it. To save the woman who had tried to save a monster, Karo kept her name in his own heart, hidden even from the judge. When his work was finished, Karo walked into the heart of the great desert. He walked until his feet no longer touched the sand, and the wind began to bow before him. The elders say he found a cave of crystal that shows only the soul. There he sits, the bone crown grown into his skull, his starlight eyes watching the world through the sand. He does not sleep. He does not eat. He only watches. He is the reason you feel a chill when you tell a lie. He is the reason the desert wind sounds like a woman crying. He is waiting for the day when the weight of the world's lies becomes too heavy for the earth to carry. On that day, the Keeper will stand, the bone crown will scream, and the truth will fall like fire until nothing is left but the silence. Be careful what you hide in the dark. The crown is listening, and memory is the only thing that never dies.